yesterday we have seen the feature method, right? And today let's see the queueable apex. All are asynchronous apex. Okay? A feature method will run whenever the resources are available. Okay, and in the future. Okay, so we can't pass the S objects as parameters. We can pass the primitive data types or collection of primitive data types as parameters. Okay, so and whenever you want to call the web services, you can go for the feature method. And to avoid the mixed DML operations, then you can go for the feature method. So these are the things. And if you want to have long running process to be executed, then you can go for feature method. And when you go for the feature method, there are some additional set of governor limits, means some extra governor limits will be given. Okay, flexible of governor limits. These are the very much important points. Okay. Now, the same way, and one feature method cannot be called from another feature method. Okay, you cannot call feature method from another feature method. Okay, here queueable apex. So, and one more thing, in the feature method you can't track it whether it is executed or not. Okay, so as we cannot track that feature method, we have another option for queueable apex. Okay, queueable apex is also asynchronous apex. Okay, is also asynchronous apex, and queueable apex will give, let's have, it is synchronous, asynchronous apex as well, and executes whenever the resources are available. And second point is, it will give the ID once the job is submitted, queueable job, then it will give the ID of job. You can track it. You can track it, means whether it is executed or not. Okay, and then it allows the S objects as call one queue job from other queueable. These are the very much important points. Okay, so let's see how to do this. And then another thing is, you should implement queueable apex, queueable interface to create the queueable apex. Okay, so these are the very much important points. Let's see if we have missed anything. This is also for long running process, and very much important is, it will give the ID of your job. It is also asynchronous apex. So using that ID, where you can query, you can use asynchronous apex job. This is the object name, so you can track it using table, or let's say object. You can see the, or you can verify the status. And then, so it allows the non-primitive data types like as objects as well as the parameter. And chaining jobs means you can call one apex job from another queue. Okay, so this is how it will be. Now let's write very simple the queueable apex. So queueable example I'm giving. Once you have created a class, you have to implement queueable interface. This is very much important. So once you implements the interface, then whatever the methods we have in that interface should be implemented. So we have seen the interface concept, right? So when you want to implement one interface, all the methods in the interface should be overridden in the class. Otherwise, it will throw the exception or sorry error. Okay. So here, what is the method we have? Public void then execute. So this one is having the system dot queueable context as the parameter. Now, if you want to know about the queueable context interface, or let's say the class, just go here and type this. Whatever the method or whatever the interface, whatever the thing you, if you want to know about that, you just go here and search for that, you will get the details. So here, this will give the ID of the job. Queueable context will give the get job ID. It's only it is having. Okay, it will give the ID of the job, whatever it is submitted, that ID it will give this. That's it, nothing other than it. Okay, this is only one method we have. Now here, let's say if you want to pass parameters as a subject, let's say a subject has parameters. If you want to pass, generally we have already seen some constructors, parameterized constructors, right? If you want to pass values to the class, or let's say any variable inside the class, then you have created the parameterized constructor, right? Let's say here what I'm trying to do is what we have here role. Okay, let's say I just need to execute some student email, I need to change to constant or something. So then what I can do is list of students, and as it is class, you have to define as public. This is the actually instance variable, right? So for them what we can do is setter comma getter. This will come in the actually in Visual Force. That will be very useful. You just remember this. You are going to create, you have to create a parameterized constructor to get the values, right? So we have already seen. That's why I have explained the parameterized constructors. Now we have students. So whatever you want to do with that students, you can do it for students. This is one Queueable Apex. So now here what you need to do, you need to pass the student records as to the as parameters into the Queueable Apex. You can pause the this one, and then let's say if I have another Queueable Apex, then where we can call it. So first thing, how to call it. Here how to call it. Okay, so we have a method for these system dot nqjob. Okay, system dot nqjob. This is how we can call the queueable apex. Okay, and here this is the method to call this queueable apex, and here you have to pass the object for this. Now how to create the object, we know that, right? Let's say first thing, queueable apex QE equals to new queueable example of students, right? This is how we have to create the object. This we know already, right? Now here the object of that queueable apex should be passed here. Okay, directly if you want you can use this, whatever you want, and then this method will give the job id. Then what you can do is just use system dot you're just getting the thing. So first thing in queueable apex is you have to implement the queueable interface, and when you implement that queueable interface you have your method called execute, public void execute, and the parameter is system dot queueable context. So queueable context is an interface which is having only one method, that's called get job id. Okay, and the queueable apex, if you use that, the difference between feature method and queueable apex is feature method cannot be tracked whether it is executed or not. Okay, but queueable apex can be tracked because it is giving the id, and then asynchronous apex job, async apex job, it's a table. So when you submit a queueable apex job, that will be inserted a record into the async apex job record object. Okay, so from there you can track the things. Okay, next thing, so you can pass the parameter as subjects also for the queueable apex. Okay, you can call one queueable apex and another queueable apex, means after in the execute method here, after executing this loop and whatever last statement, if you use that system.enqueue of another queueable apex, then simply you can call another queueable apex, and once this is completed it will call another queueable apex. So that's how it will be. Now let's see how it goes. Just use execute. Okay, where is this? Student underscore c. Two are there. So this is the actual queueable apex is executed. Here, this is the job ID. Okay, this is job ID. So now how you are going to do this? Okay. What is the job? I mean, table asynchronous async apex job, right? This is the object name. Okay. Here you can drop all the details: ID, job type, apex class ID, status, then method name if you want, parent job means if you call one queueable apex from another queueable apex, then it will be one child on parent, so that also it will be executed status, extended status, id equals to now just execute this here. So this is the queueable apex job, then apex class id is this, status is completed. Okay, so here actually what happens is even feature method also will be tracked here, means here that will be tracked, but as it won't give id, you can't see anything. Okay, so in asynchronous apex job, this is the object name. In this object name, the feature method information also will be captured here. Job type is feature, but feature method will not give the job id. You have to see the feature method, you have to see in this table for whether it is executed or not. Okay, so this is how it will be. Okay, so okay, how to call the system dot okay, so you have to use this to call the okay. So let's write a simple test class for this. You have to learn all these things, otherwise it will be a problem. Okay, so here I'm using test setup means if you use test setup, what it can be done is uh, the records whatever you have created in this test setup will be available for each and every test. If you don't use this test setup, okay, let me create first university. Name equals to test university, and then active or what is there. Required. If you want, you can give status underscore c equals to. You might get confused how why we need a university, because the student is the child in the master detail relationship. If you want to create a child, you should have master, right? So that first we are creating the university, then we can create this university. Let's create students. mandatory fields. University is required. University student email is mandatory. Let's say I'm giving. Okay, so now so now once these are inserted, now let's write test method. This is not the actual test class, test method. This is to prepare the data. That's it. Okay, is test static void queueable example test. Okay, so here what you need to do, you have to have list of students first. Student students select id, use this. So even this is not required. So as we have already discussed how to test the asynchronous apex, you have to use test dot start test, then test dot stop test. Okay, now once this is done, then usually what should be the email id? Email id should be this one, right? So now let's query the records. Students one. So what we can do is where id in students, direct list also you can pass. Okay, here system dot needs all the so here so expected is this email id, sorry. Once this queueable apex is executed, email id should be this one. So now whether it is updated or not, first get at least one student of 0 dot student underscore email underscore c. So here message is student email should be updated. So usually the thing is, so if you have written the any test class previously, you are creating the records first, then you are executing the your test. Okay, here if you use test setup, the records will be created here, and if you have another test method also, you don't need to create these records again and again. You can just query and use them. That is the use of test setup. Okay, just execute this. Is svsfdctraining@gmail.com, but actually this one means Queueable. We have not performed the update operation, so if you use this you will not. So that is the advantage of test class. Here we have given the svsfdctraining@gmail.com 1 2 2 3 3 something around that. Now when we call this Queueable example, so it's updated. Okay, so that's how you have to write the Queueable Apex and test class. That's all. Next thing is batch Apex. So batch Apex. So this is another asynchronous Apex. Okay, which runs in a separate thread. Okay. So this is another asynchronous Apex. So you have to use this batch Apex for the long running process. Means if you want to perform any DML operation for 5 lakhs records or something, then you can go for batch Apex. It's called long running Apex. Sorry. Long running to process bulk amount of data. Bulk amount of data. So this is up to 5 lakhs. Or 5 million records also we can say that. Okay. Next thing, you have to implement batchable interface. And so this is, there will be three methods in the batchable interface. One is start, second one is execute, third one is finish. Okay, start, execute, finish. These are the methods we have in the batch Apex. Okay, start method, start and finish methods runs run only once, and execute method execute multiple times based on the batch size. Okay, so these are very much important. So if you want to track the job ID, let's say the job ID, okay, so asynchronous affect job, cron job trigger. So these are the two objects where we can track the job. Okay, we'll see one by one here. Okay, so let's write the Queueable Apex. Sorry, batch Apex. Let's say batch example. Okay, so for test class, same way you can just set up the data, okay, and use this, but just writing instead of this you can have another thing like you have to execute database dot execute is the method to execute the batch effects. Okay, so now let's say batch example. Here you have to implement database dot batchable. So here you have to mention which object you are going to use. Okay, so let's say if I use, usually we use S object. S object means Salesforce object, any Salesforce object. It may be account, it may be contact, it may be any other Salesforce object. So here there will be three methods: public, and then start method will return two types of things. One is query locator, another one is iterable. Okay, so let me show the syntax. This is the batchable interface. Here execute, finish, start, these are the methods will be there. Okay, now here we have for reference here. So this is the batch effect. It's also a very long running process that run off thousands of records, means almost 5 lakh records. Okay, if you want to process, then you can go for the batch apex. So batch apex you have using batch apex. So there are three methods. One is start method, second one is execute method, third one is finish method. Okay, if you want to call one batch apex from another batch apex, then you should call from the finish method, only from finish method. You should not call from any other. Okay, then here this is the syntax of the start method: global, or let's say public also, query locator or iterable as object, and then parameter will be system dot database dot batchable context. Okay, if you want to learn about batchable context, just go there and try that batchable context. It will give job id, and so if there is any child also, it will give the child job id also. Okay, so here public database dot query locator, okay, start of database dot batchable context is. Okay, so this is used to get the data from the database and then to set the data to the other. Okay, let's say how to use this. Return, so as there is a parameter, I mean the return type, then you should use this return database dot get query locator. Then here pass the query here. So let's say select id student c from student _ c. Now whatever the records we have in the student object, all records will be queried as the query is saying that. Then what you can do is implement the public void execute. This is execute method. So here there will be two parameters. Okay, one is batchable context and then list of records. Okay, here whatever you want you can do it. Okay, so and then means whatever the records queried from this query, let's say 10 records are came, 10 records will be passed to execute method to process the logic. Here the execute method contains the actual logic to update. Let's say I just need to update student, yes, let's start double underscore c equals to just update. After the for loop use again. After this you have another method public void finish of database dot manageable context. So here what you can do is if you want to call another batch apex, you can call from here. Okay, and if you want to send some emails or something also, you can use this. Now here, so this is how you have to write the thing. And how can you call the batch apex? Okay. Very simple. Database dot execute batch. Okay. So execute batch. What you can do is new batch example. Even if you want to pass the parameters, you can use however we have used that. So here new batch apex. Then here batch size is very much important. Here let's say 2. The batch size can be 1 to 2000. Sure, listen. Batch size should be 1 to 2000. Maximum is 2000. Okay, so what is here batch size? Means if you have 50,000 records or 5 lakh records, 5 lakh records cannot be updated here because we have limitation is SOQL query should return only 50,000 records. But here if you use database.get query locator inside the batch apex, then it will treat and it will return almost 5 lakh. Then 5 lakh records cannot be processed in one execute method. Okay, because we have limitation 10,000 records only can be processed at a time, right? So the batch apex can have the batch size so from for 1 to 2000. Okay, if you give 2 or something 100 or 200 or 300 something to batch apex as a batch size, then what happens is this returns, let's say if it returns 10,000 records, then 10,000 records by 10,000 by batch size. Let's say if you have given 500, 10,000 by 500 is 20. So the execute method will be executed 20 times. Okay, so 20 times it will be executed. And let's say if you want to count something, so public set So here what happens is, if you have this integer, now let's say how many times the batch apex is executed. If you want to use this one, so what you have to do is, you have to use database dot stateful. You have to implement another thing, stateful. This is another interface. So usually if you don't use here, let's say usually I equals to 0, okay. Here I plus plus. So finally what you are going to do is system dot debug of I value. What happens is, every time once the batch execute method is executed, simply it will reset to 0. If the method is executed, it will reset to 0. So if the execute method executes 10 times also, it will be 0 only, or actually it will be 1 only. If you don't use database.stateful, let's execute this and we'll see how it goes. Okay, now here how many records we have in the student object? Four records are there. Okay, now here if you give batch size as 1, means that will execute 4 times. Execute method will be execute 4 times. Now let's execute this. Now if you go to your setup, here you have apex job. Okay, so this apex job will give the details of batch apex and schedule apexes. So sorry, batch apex and queueable apexes which are executed or which are due. See here, this feature method is executed, queueable apex is executed today, and then batch apex is also executed today. And batch apex, total number of batches are 4, number of batches processed 4, no failures. Okay, now let's see the debug, what is the value it is. Okay, this is one transaction. If you go to the logs, value is 0. Even if you increment also, that comes like this. So in that case, you have to use database dot. This is the batch apex operation. Here the value is 4. Okay, this is very much important. How can you maintain the state in the batch apex? So you should tell that you have to implement the, what is this? Okay, so you have to implement the stateful. Okay, so if you don't use stateful, then the value cannot be stated. At a time you can have only 100 jobs in the queue. Okay, at a time only one job's start method will be executed. Execute method be anything, but one job's start method can only be executed, and this also runs whenever the resources are available. Okay, and then so flexi queue, there is object. So and this what you can do is, if you have 5 jobs, if you want to run the job 5th one first of these 4, then you can move the job to positions like list. Okay, job in queue. So batch job statuses, first job, when the job is submitted, it will be in the holding, queued, preparing, processing, aborted, completed, failed. So these are the different states of Apex job. Okay, this is batch job status. We should learn this as well. Schedule batch, this will be different. Tomorrow we'll see that. What are the limitations, considerations? So here, stateful. So if you want to have the values of some of the variables, which let's say counting of number of records processed in the batch. Okay, if you want to count them, first you have to use database dot stateful. There will be an interview question around this. Okay, you should, if you ignore it, then it will be a problem. So to execute the batch apex, and then here the batch apex government limits. 100 jobs can be submitted, but only up to 5 batch jobs can be queued. In the queue, there will be only 5 jobs. Okay, and then holding jobs should be 100. That's called queue. Okay, 100 jobs can be submitted. So maximum batch method executes 24 hours. This is the limit of synchronous jobs. How many records? Maximum of 2000. So higher values. So this is an Apex job best practices. How to use these others. Okay. So these are very much important. Go ahead and learn them. This all will be asked in interview questions. If you ignore it or if you neglect, then we can't do anything. Okay, that's it for today.